For 53 years, every morning at 6:47 a.m., Robert Mitchell stood in front of the same bathroom mirror. Not for shaving, not for styling hair. He practiced 3 words, 3 simple words that he never had the chance to say. This is the story of the price those words cost him, and the price they cost all those who loved him. This was the burden Robert carried until the day he died, at the age of 76. Robert's daughter, Jennifer, found the mirror after he died. It was the only thing she took from his house. Not the expensive watches, not the old car he had restored. The mirror. Because the wooden frame had counting marks engraved in such small letters that you wouldn't see them unless you were paying attention. 19,345 of them. And so it went for many mornings when Robert stood there, looking at his own reflection and whispering the same 3 words to an empty room. "I love you, Dad." But he never said them when it mattered. He never said them while his father was alive. Robert Mitchell was born in 1947 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, a typical small town in the American Midwest where everyone knew everyone else's business, where going to church on Sundays was not optional, and where men didn't talk about their feelings. Most importantly, not Robert's father. Thomas Mitchell was a World War II veteran. Normandy Beach, awarded the Purple Heart, the kind of man who believed that emotions were weakness and silence, strength. He never hugged his son. "I never said I was proud. I never said the words Robert needed to hear." But Robert saw something others didn't. He saw how his father's hand hovered over his shoulder when he thought no one was looking, how Thomas saved the sports section of the newspaper for Robert to read, how his jaw clenched when Robert got hurt as if he were fighting to hide his care. Thomas loved his son. Robert knew it, but neither of them could say it, and that silence would destroy them both. Robert was 8 years old when he first tried to say that. It was 1955. He had fallen from the oak tree in his backyard, the one Thomas had told him not to climb. Broken arm. Thomas didn't yell. He didn't lecture. He simply picked Robert up, carried him to the truck, and drove 60 kilometers to the nearest hospital in complete silence. Robert remembers seeing his father's knuckles turn white on the steering wheel. He remembers seeing his father's jaw muscle clench. And when they finally stopped at a red light, Robert saw something he had never seen before. A single tear rolled down Thomas Mitchell's face. His father quickly erased everything. He pretended nothing had happened. But Robert saw. That's when 8-year-old Robert decided things would be different. He would say the words. He would tell his father that he loved him. He opened his mouth. His father turned to look at him. "Don't climb that tree again," Thomas said. And the moment was gone. Years passed. Robert grew up. The silence grew with him. At 13, Robert joined the high school basketball team. He was the backup point guard. Not great, but good enough. The championship game was decided in the final seconds. Robert's team was down by 1 point. The coach put him on the field. The gym was packed. Robert's mother was there, and in the last row, trying to look relaxed, trying to blend in, Thomas Mitchell. He'd left work early. First time in his life. With 3 seconds left, the ball reached Robert. He kicked it. The ball described a parabola in the air in slow motion. The ball bounced off the edge. They lost. Robert stood on the court, tears threatening to fall, surrounded by disappointed teammates. He looked out at the stands. His father had passed away. Robert ran to the parking lot. He found Thomas sitting in the pickup truck with the engine running. "Dad, Come in," said Thomas. "Your mother is waiting." They returned home in silence. That night, Robert heard something through the wall. His parents' room was next to his. He pressed his ear to the cold wall and heard his father's voice, trembling and broken. "He tried so hard." Thomas whispered to Robert's mother. "Did you see how hard he tried?" Robert's mother's voice was soft. "Why don't you tell him?" "He knows," said Thomas. But Robert didn't know. Not really. And the words remained locked inside both of them. Robert turned 18 in 1965. The Vietnam War was in full swing. Military conscription was a reality. Thomas, the war veteran, had very specific opinions about duty, honor, and serving his country. Robert had other plans: college, an engineering degree, a life that didn't involve jungles and body bags. The fight happened on a Tuesday night. Robert had just received his acceptance letter to Iowa State University. "I'm not going," Robert said during dinner. "Where aren't you going?" his mother asked. "If I get drafted, I'll go to Canada." The fork fell from Thomas's hand. It hit the plate with a loud thud. His father stood up, slowly, the way he did when he was trying to control something inside himself. "You are my son," Thomas said, his voice almost a whisper. "I know, Dad. That's why I'm telling you." "You are my son," Thomas repeated, this time in a louder voice. "And I didn't raise a coward." The word hung in the air like poison. Robert also stood up. They were facing each other on the other side of the table. They were the same height now, the same stubborn chin, the same inability to say what they wanted to say. "Maybe you didn't even raise me," Robert said. Thomas's face paled. Then it turned red, and then something worse. Emptiness. He left the kitchen. He left the house. Robert heard the truck start. He heard the sound of the gravel as his father drove away. Robert's mother stood there, her hands trembling and tears streaming down her face. "He loves you," she whispered. "He just doesn't know how." "Then he should learn," said Robert. But Robert never gave him that opportunity. Robert received a high number on his military draft, 327. He never had to choose between Canada and Vietnam. But the damage had already been done. He went to Iowa State University. His mother drove him there. Thomas stayed home, saying he had work. Robert graduated in 1969. His mother attended the ceremony. Thomas sent a card with $50 inside. No message. Robert got a job in Chicago, at an engineering firm. Good pay. He moved. He came home for Christmas. He stayed for 3 days. He and his father exchanged maybe 50 words in total. The silences stretched on longer. The distance grew. And with each passing year, the words Robert needed to say grew heavier. Robert kept a diary. His daughter Jennifer found it after he died. In it, he recorded all the times he almost called his father. December 15th, 1972. "I got promoted today. I picked up the phone to call my dad. I hung up. He wouldn't mind anyway." March 3rd, 1974. "I met a girl, Sarah. I'm thinking of asking her to marry me. I want to ask my father what he never talks about these things." October 18th, 1975. Sarah said yes. She called Mom. She cried. She said she would tell Dad. Why can't I tell him in person? June 12th, 1976. Wedding next month. I sent an invitation to my father. He checked, "I will attend." He didn't write anything else, not even congratulations. What did I expect? The wedding took place. A small ceremony in Chicago. Thomas and Robert's mother drove 8 hours to be there. Robert remembers standing at the altar, watching the doors, waiting for his parents to arrive. They arrived late and sat in the last row. His father was wearing a suit Robert had never seen before. New, expensive. After the ceremony, during the reception, Robert found his father standing alone outside, smoking a cigarette. "Dad, thank you for coming." Thomas nodded. He took a drag on his cigarette. "His mother chose the suit," he said. "It seems good." "A waste of money." They stood there in silence. Two men who loved each other, separated by words they couldn't say. Sarah went out and linked her arm with Robert's. "You must be very proud," she said to Thomas. Thomas looked at his son. He looked at him intently, and for a moment Robert saw something in his father's eyes, something tender, something vulnerable. "He ended up doing well," Thomas said. Then he put down the cigarette, extinguished it with his heel, and went back inside. Robert stood there trembling. "He just told you that he loves you," Sarah whispered. "No," said Robert. "He didn't do that." 1978. Robert's first child is born. A girl, Jennifer. He calls his parents. His mother answers. She's crying, laughing, asking questions. Then she says, "Wait a minute, your father wants to say something." Muffled sounds, a telephone being passed from hand to hand. "Robert." "No, bye." Her mother said it's a girl. "Sim, Jennifer." "Good name. Thanks. We will visit him." "Okay. Okay." The phone clicks. His father hung up. 1981. Robert's son, Michael, is born. The same phone call, different words, the same silence. 1985. Robert receives a major promotion, Vice President of Engineering. He calls home to tell his mother. "Your father is in the hospital," she says instead. "Heart attack. Mild. He will recover." Robert drives for 8 hours through the night. He arrives at 4 a.m. His mother is asleep in a chair in the waiting room. He goes to his father's room. Thomas is awake, staring intently at the ceiling. "Mum called you," Thomas says. A statement, not a question. "Try. He didn't need to come." "I know." "How are you feeling?" Robert asks. "It was as if God had punched me in the chest." Robert almost laughed. Almost. "The doctor said you'll be fine." "The doctors don't know anything." They sit in silence. Robert pulls up a chair and sits down. The hours pass. The nurses come and go. The sun rises. Robert's mother brings coffee. Finally, as Robert prepares to leave, Thomas speaks. "Robert." "Yes, Dad?" "You didn't have to drive all night." "I wanted." Thomas nods. He closes his eyes, and Robert realizes that this was his father's way of thanking him, perhaps even of saying that he cared. But it still wasn't, "I love you." And Robert still couldn't say that either. The diary entries become increasingly desperate. January 4th, 1987. My father's 65th birthday. I sent a card. I wrote, "Happy birthday," and nothing else. I stared at the blank space for 20 minutes. I couldn't write what I wanted. November 10th, 1989. Thanksgiving next week. We're going to Iowa. I'll tell him. I'll say it. This year I'll say it. November 28th, 1989. I didn't say that. April 2nd, 1991. My father turns 70 today. How many more years does he have ahead of him? How many chances will I waste? December 25th, 1995. Christmas, Dad gave me a toolbox. His toolbox. The one in the garage. The one he's had since before I was born. Mom says he spent 3 weeks cleaning it, organizing it, making sure every tool was perfect. He handed it to me and said, "I thought you might use this." I said, "Thank you, that's all. Just thank you." Why can't I say what I really want to say? Why can't he? The toolbox sat in Robert's garage for years. He never used it. He couldn't force me, because using it would mean admitting that his father was getting old. He was thinking about endings. He was trying to say goodbye in the only way he knew how. May 15th, 2000, Tuesday morning, 6:47 a.m. Robert stood in front of the bathroom mirror, practicing those 3 words, as he did every morning. "I love you, Dad." The phone rang. Robert remembers the sound cutting through his words like a knife. He remembers knowing, somehow knowing, even before he could answer. "Robert?" His mother's voice, trembling, choked. "Mother, it's your father. What happened? He fainted at work. They're saying..." Her voice trailed off in sobs. I'm coming right now." "Robert, I'm coming, Mum." "Robert, he's gone, darling. He died before the ambulance arrived." 8 hours from Chicago to Cedar Rapids. Robert drove it in 6.5 minutes. His wife, Sarah, sat next to him. His children, Jennifer and Michael, now teenagers, sat in the back seat. Nobody said anything. Robert's hands gripped the steering wheel the same way his father's had the day he broke his arm. White knuckles, jaw clenched. And Robert realized, with a horror that made him want to scream, that he was becoming exactly like his father, reclusive, repressed, unable to express what he felt. "Daddy!" Jennifer's voice came from the back seat, soft, scared. "Try? Are you well?" "No," said Robert, and he began to cry. It was the first time his children had seen him cry. Sarah placed her hand on his. He pulled the car over to the side of the highway. He stopped right there on Interstate 80, and he sobbed, deep, convulsive sobs that came from somewhere deep inside him. His family embraced him, and Robert Mitchell, 53, wept for the father he lost and for the words he never said. The funeral was everything Thomas Mitchell would have hated. Too many flowers, too many people crying, too much emotion. Robert climbed onto the podium to deliver the eulogy. He had written 5 pages, simple spacing, stories about his father, the good times, the hard times. He was only able to read 1 paragraph, then he looked at the coffin. Closed, sealed, the end. And the weight never became unbearable. "I never told you," Robert said, his voice choked with emotion. Papers trembled in his hands. "I never told him I loved him. 53 years. I had 53 years to say 3 words, and I never did. He never told me that, but I knew. I knew he loved me. I saw it in everything he did, in the way he worked 2 jobs so I could go to college, in the way he kept all the report cards I brought home, in the way he gave me his toolbox, the only thing that mattered to him, because he wanted me to have it. He showed me love every day, and I loved him too. At least I hope so, but we never said those words, and now it's too late." Robert looked out at the packed church. He saw his mother in the front row, wiping away tears. He saw Sarah holding her children. He saw neighbors, friends, people whose lives his father had touched. "Don't be like us," Robert said. "Don't wait. Don't practice in front of the mirror. Don't write on cards you'll never send. Say the words. Say them now. Say them while you still can." Then he stepped down from the podium, placed his hand on his father's coffin, and whispered the 3 words he had practiced 19,345 times. "I love you, Dad." 3 days after the funeral, Robert and his mother were going through Thomas's belongings, deciding what to keep, what to donate, and what to throw away. They found him in his father's workshop, on the workbench, under a tarp. A wooden box, handmade, dovetail joints perfectly sanded, beautifully stained. "He's been working on it for months," Robert's mother said quietly. There was an envelope taped to the top. Robert's name was written on it. Inside was a note, his father's handwriting, trembling, uncertain. "Robert, I made this for your tools. I thought that toolbox was getting old. This one is better. I've been wanting to give it to you, but I never found the right time. Your father." That was all. No signature, no "with love," just "your dad." Robert opened the box. Inside, perfectly fitted and meticulously organized, were all the tools from that old toolbox. His father had transferred them, one by one, but there was something more. At the bottom of the box, folded very small, was a piece of paper, yellowed with age. Robert unfolded it. It was 1969, Robert's college graduation program, and next to Robert's name, in his father's handwriting, were 3 words, "Proud of you." They continued searching. In Thomas's wallet, a photo from Robert's wedding day, worn at the edges from being taken and viewed frequently. In the dresser drawer, all the Father's Day cards Robert had ever given her, dozens of them, organized by year. In the truck's glove compartment, a newspaper clipping from 1995, when Robert's company was featured in the business section. His father had highlighted Robert's name. In a box in the attic, Robert's Little League baseball card, the first tooth he lost, wrapped in tissue paper, a drawing Robert made in 2nd grade. Thomas Mitchell, the man who couldn't speak, kept everything, every piece of his son's life, every memory. "He loved you very much," said Robert's mother, tears streaming down her face. "He told me that every day. He would say, 'I hope Robert knows. And I would reply, "Why don't you tell him?" And he would say, "He knows." "But you didn't know, did you?" she whispered. "I knew," said Robert. "I knew all along. I just needed to listen." "He too," said his mother. 2 weeks later, Robert received a phone call from his father's lawyer. Thomas had left a will. Most of it was simple: the house for Robert's mother, the savings divided between Robert and his siblings, normal things. But there was an unusual arrangement, a bank vault, to be opened only after Thomas's death. The contents must be delivered to Robert. Robert went to the bank. He signed the forms. The clerk took him to the safe, opened the box, and left him alone. There was only one item inside, a cassette tape, the label handwritten by the father, "For Robert, from Dad." Robert's hands trembled as he drove home. The tape lay on the passenger seat like something alive, dangerous. He went to the garage. He found an old radio. He sat in the car with the garage door closed, the engine off, and pressed play. Static. Then a clearing of the throat. Next, the father's voice. "Robert, yes, he's your father, obviously. You know that. This is difficult." More silence. Robert could hear his father's breathing on the recording. "I'm doing this because the doctor said, the doctor said I should get my affairs in order. My heart isn't well. It could be tomorrow, it could be 10 years, but I should say things. I'm not a good talker. You know that. My father wasn't either, nor was his father. It's as if we inherited silence instead of stories, and I hate that. I hate having done to you what was done to me. I wrote down things I wanted to say. I thought I'd read them later. First, I'm proud of you. I know I've never said that, but I am. Of everything you've done, college, your career, your family, you did everything right, better than me. Secondly, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not being a better father. I'm sorry for not knowing how to show you this. I'm sorry for that fight we had about Vietnam. You were right, I was scared of losing you like I lost my friends in the war. But I expressed myself poorly. I called you a coward when you are the bravest person I know. Third, your mother says I should say how I feel, and I told her that you know. I told her that you always knew, but she says you need to listen. Robert, you are my son. You are my son, and I love you. There. I said it, I love you. I've always loved you, from the day you were born. From the first time I held you and you grabbed my finger with your little hand, I knew in that instant. I knew I would die for you. I knew you were the best thing I had ever done in my life. I love you. I love you, son, and I'm sorry it took me so long to say this. I'm sorry you're hearing this after I'm gone. I wish I could see your face. I wish I could hear you say the same. But I know you love me too. I know because you're just like me. And that's the problem, isn't it? We're the same. We're both too stubborn, too afraid, too closed off within ourselves. Break the cycle, Robert. Tell your children this. Tell them every day. Don't let them doubt. Don't let them practice in front of the mirror. I love you, son. I will always love you. The following morning, Robert was standing in front of the bathroom mirror. 6:47. He looked at his reflection. "I love you, Dad," he whispered. He made a small mark on the wooden frame. The next morning he did it again, and next, and next. For 53 years, until the day Robert Mitchell died at age 76, he stood in front of that mirror every morning and repeated the 3 words his father finally told him. But Robert did something his father never did. He said these words to his children, every day, several times a day, when they left for school, when they came home, before bed, during fights, after fights, on good days, on bad days. "I love you, Jennifer. I love you, Michael." He repeated this so many times that his teenage children rolled their eyes. "Yeah, Dad, we know." But they knew. They always knew. And when they had their own children, they said the same thing. Jennifer's children, Michael's children, the next generation. free from silence. Robert Mitchell died in his sleep in 2023. He was 76 years old, heart attack, quick, painless. It was his daughter Jennifer who found him, and next to the bed on the bedside table there was a tape player with the father's tape still inside. He had been listening to her the previous night. At the funeral, Jennifer delivered the eulogy. She told the story of her father and grandfather, the silence, the regret, the tape. And then she said, "My father taught me that love is not just a feeling. It's words, it's actions, it's choosing every day to say what you think while you still can." He carried the weight of never for 53 years. Those 3 words he practiced but never said while his father was alive. That weight never left him. But he made sure we never carried that burden. He broke the cycle. He said the words. And because of that I can be here today without regrets, because my father knew. He knew that I loved him, because I told him so every day. I love you, Dad, and I know you heard me. The weight of never. 3 words, 2 men, 53 years of silence, a lifetime of regret. Robert Mitchell's mirror now hangs in Jennifer's house. She added her own markings. Every morning at 6:47 a.m., she stands in front of it. I love you, Dad. I love you, Grandpa Thomas. Robert's 19th of 345 points. Each one a missed opportunity. Each one a reminder. Each one a warning. What are you waiting for? What words are you practicing in front of the mirror? What are you carrying that you don't need to carry? Say it now. Say this while they can still hear you. Don't become just a number in someone else's mirror. This was The Weight of Never. If you were moved by this story, please like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear this reflection so that I can bring more touching stories like this one.